What's up, Willowbrook? Today we're in Ephesians chapter 5. Starting in verse 1, Paul writes, "Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children." Some translations say to be imitators of God. Now, we know if you have kids, you're fully aware that sometimes your kids will imitate the good things you do. It seems like sometimes they imitate more the bad things you do, but the point is still pretty clear. Children imitate their parents. And all throughout Ephesians, Paul is talking about that we've been saved by grace. He's talking about being raised from death to life in Christ. So now, because of what God has done, we are his loved children. He loves us, and now we belong to him. So Paul is saying here to be imitators of God. Now, notice he's not saying to try to become God, like we saw in the Garden of Eden. He's not saying to try to elevate ourselves to the point of being God or gods. No, he's just saying to imitate God, who is our Father, because of what Christ has done on our behalf. And then he talks about how we go about doing this in verse 2. It says, "And walk in the way of love." Now, notice he doesn't say sprint or run in the way of love. This isn't just one quick action that we can do one time and it's over. Now, this is a daily practice. That's why Paul says, walk in the way of love. It's what we do daily. And then he goes on to say, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. See, Christ is the example. This is who we are to mirror our lives from, is the example in Christ, because Jesus is God incarnate, God in flesh and blood. So when we look to Jesus, we see this is how we are to pattern our own lives. And Jesus lived in a way where he loved everyone and he gave himself up as a sacrifice. Now, we know that we can't die on the cross for everyone's sins. Jesus has already done that one time, and it's finished, it's done. But what we can do is we can love each other. We can love the people around us just like Christ would have loved. It's more than just a feeling, it's an action. And I love in verse 32 of the previous chapter, chapter 4, it gives us maybe a few more details. It says this: "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." As believers, we should be the most gracious and forgiving people on earth, because we remember that we were trapped, we were dead in our sin, but Jesus came and rescued us from that and gave us new life, and now we are the children of God. So maybe today there's someone you need to forgive. Maybe today there's someone that you need to be kind to or compassionate to. Maybe there's someone that you need to love in more than just a feeling, but with an action. Let me encourage you to do that today. Together as believers, let's be imitators of God, because we are God's children. God bless you. We will see you next time.